Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first live stream of our IEP information night for our incoming as well as our current seventh graders. I'd like to thank you for coming to get information, not just about next year's schedule and any information questions that you want answered. We'll try to do that, but also specifically about our IEP students. So I would like to take this time to introduce Ms. Allison Kent, our academic coordinator.
Hi, how are you? Thank you, Mr. Brassky. I appreciate it. So we're going to just kind of go over a bunch of things today. It's going to be a lot. You will have a chance to ask questions and then email us separately if you need to. But just so you know, we're going to get to it. And Mr. Bioni is our behind-the-scenes producer, so he is going to start my presentation. So we are so excited to be able to start the 2021 and 22 school year. There we go. Okay, so we did a parent night earlier in the year, and if you did not see it, this is the link right here. We will send this PowerPoint out afterwards, so you will be able to go and watch that. It gives a lot more information about bell schedules, maps, what you need for your classes, and all of that information. Tonight, we're just going to focus on the classes for students that have IEPs. And before we do that, we are going to introduce our team. Tonight, I have Mrs. Karen Price with me.
Hi, I'm Karen Price. I'm the special ed teacher and special ed department lead.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate it. We also have with us today, part of the team is Miss Jessica Elmer.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Ms. Kent. My name is Jessica Elmer. I teach special education math and academic lab C currently.
Thank you so much. So they are throughout the night going to be here to answer specific questions also. So the biggest thing we get asked is how many classes is my child going to take? And hopefully next year when things will go back to normal, that is our goal. Our students each have 8 classes. They are split between A and B days because it would be a long day if we took all 8. So they will take 4 classes each day: math, English, social studies, science, PE, and 1 elective. Now the electives is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we will get to that a lot later. I have lots of slides about all of our electives. So the biggest thing at Riles, we are very proud of this. We make sure that every single student, no matter what, gets 1 elective that they chose. The electives are where our students are going to receive the support on their IEP goals, and they might also receive service minutes in their math and English classes if they're a special education math and English, but I will get to that. And I know it's early, but I just want to make sure that if anybody has any questions, and hopefully everybody can hear it okay. Mr. Brassky, do we have any questions yet?
No, I don't have any questions that have been emailed to me.
All right. So throughout this whole presentation, you'll probably see in the corner is Mr. Barassy's email address, and you can just send him emails, and he will, throughout this presentation, there's slides that we will take question breaks. So if you have any questions, please email cbarassy@centerusd.org. So let's talk about math classes. We have 2 different pathways that students can take. They can either be in our Math 7, and then our current 7th graders, they're going to move up to Math 8. Those are our general education classes. We use a curriculum called CPM, and they are taught by our general education math teachers. We also have a special education track. We call those classes Math A and Math B. We still use CPM because we think it's important for them to see that curriculum since it goes up to Center High School, but they also support them with materials that can be 3 or more grade levels below to support where those students are. To get into those special ed classes, you have to be recommended through your IEP and by their current case managers. So our 6th grade case managers spend a lot of time talking to our whole department at Riles about what kind of things, where they should be placed, and then they send us recommendations. We also are looking at their iReady scores. And I don't know if everybody has been told this yet, but we are not going to do the Smarter Balance test this year. We're going to do a different test called iReady, and we're going to use that across the district. We are also going to be looking at their placement test that they're currently taking, which we call the MDTP. And we're going to be looking to see what they score on that. If they score below a 30%, that kind of signals us to think about whether they should be in a special education math class. All right. Let's talk about English. So our English language arts, again, we have 2 separate tracks that they can be on. Our general education classes are English 7 and English 8. We use a curriculum called StudySync, and it's taught by general education English teachers. But we also have a track for our students on IEPs. We call it English A and English B, and those are taught by special education teachers. The thing that has changed this year is that they're going to be a double block, which means they're actually going to have 2 periods of English class. Again, they're going to use the same curriculum because we want to expose them to what their peers are doing, but they're just going to support them along the way. Placements for that will be based on, same thing again, talking to the case manager, looking at their IEP and where their goals are, an iReady score. And then we also look at their fluency scores that they take in 6th grade. And then for Riles students currently, we look at reading inventory scores, which I will get to later. No matter what, every student on our campus takes a science and a social studies class. We actually push them out. They all are together. They all take science 7 or 8. They all take social studies 7 or 8. So the biggest thing is we find that we also will support those classes, but instead of having instructional specialists and teachers in those specific classes, we will provide them the support through our instructional specialists or our instructional aides during the academic lab classes so that they can have the extra support in there. Oh, this is probably Mr. Barassi's favorite, PE. So PE, we also have the same 2 choices you can choose from. We have our gen ed classes, which are PE 7 and 8. And then we also have our modified PE, and that is more for students in our Mod Severe, or we also call it our ILS, which Mrs. Price teaches, and our autism program. And they're for students that have physical disability so that they can't participate in it, and we call that modified PE. It is taught by a general education teacher. And that was a lot, so I'm sure there are some questions. So Mr. Barassi, are there any questions?
We don't have any questions yet, but I'm ready. I think people are formulating them, so send them in.
And you can always send them in after. I will put my email address up too at the end of this, so you can send them directly to me. All right, this is where I get very excited. I am extremely proud of our electives and all of our elective programs. I was very disappointed when we had to change our schedule and we had to go down to 6 periods, because the reason we go to 8 periods is so that no matter what, every single student on our campus will get 1 elective that they chose. We have amazing classes. We have art, we have computer science, we have team sports, which is a very popular one. We have an advanced class called Project Lead the Way. We have AVID, we have leadership. And there's going to be more. There's lots of bands too. So I get very excited about the electives. I'm very passionate about them. But here's the question. Some of the students did not turn in their form. So I encourage you to go back and ask your child, did you turn in the elective form? Ignore all the due dates. We are going to take them as long as we can get them. So you can go back and go to that website that is on the slide after this, and you can check and see, did you fill out your elective form? Because if they don't tell us what they want, we can't give them a class that they chose. So I encourage you to go and check and see if they did that. Okay, this is where it gets a little tricky. So you got to bear with me for a few minutes. So take 3 electives. 2 and 3 could be 2 and 3 more that you chose. But most of the time, if a student has an IEP, one of those classes is going to be something called an academic lab. Most likely they'll have at least 1. Sometimes your 2nd and 3rd elective can also be 2 additional academic labs. So bear with me, it's going to get tricky. All right, the first possibility for an academic lab is academic lab A. I used to call it English support. It's now literacy support. It's also corrective reading. No matter what, that's where we focus about helping them with literacy. And then we also focus on decoding, which is the foundational building blocks of how to read. So this course, we use a program called corrective reading. Corrective reading has to be delivered daily. It is part of the course that every single day you're practicing these skills that you're learning. So it is 2 elective classes. So if your child qualifies for our corrective reading program, the last 2 electives, elective 2 and 3, will be this corrective reading class. What they have to do right now is take a Lexile test for 7th graders. They're going to take a fluency test at the elementary schools. I've already gotten the lists. We are going to individually test them to see if they qualify for corrective reading. But that is 2 of their electives. The second choice for electives, so if they do not qualify for corrective reading, they could qualify for Academic Lab B, which is our math intervention class. We put students in there who are in general ed math classes, so either math 7 or math 8, but show that they need a little bit more support just in those classes. So we look at their MDTP test, which is the Riles placement test that they're currently taking in all of their classes, 6th grade included, 6th grade and 7th graders, even our 8th graders. We get this score to see what they know and what they show they can do. We also look at their grade in their math class. And for our 6th graders, we do look at Fs, and I know that they've adjusted it, so it's 1, 2s, and 3s. We know that, and we will make the adjustments for that. So we kind of see how they're trending. And then we will also look at their iReady scores. I don't know what the iReady scores are because we have not been trained in it. Eventually, I will know what that score is. If they show that they have a little bit of need for some support in that class, Academic Lab B will be their support for their second elective. Okay, I know this is where it gets tough. So elective 3 could have been Academic Lab A, corrective reading. It could have been Academic Lab B, and then that would have been their second one. Their third one could be Academic Lab C. Academic Lab C is a way to do study skills, which is going to be supporting all of the core classes. It's usually where students with IEPs show that they have a need because they need support across the board in all the subjects. They might need support in reading, but they didn't qualify for corrective reading. This is where they would go to get that support. They might have shown that they needed a little bit of help in math, but they didn't have that low of scores. They just need someone to check in with them. They will be in an academic lab. Okay, whew, I know, it's a lot, right? So I made a visual because we are visual people. So they can either have this one where they get one elective of their choice, which would be the one more elective. But then if they qualify for A, that's all 3 of their electives gone. But if you did not qualify for A, let's go over to this chart. If you did not qualify for A, you could be in B, which is for math. But then you still get 2 additional electives after that. Or you could qualify for just C. You showed that you had a hard time in some of your classes, but you didn't have the lowest iReady and MDTP scores to qualify for you for B, but you still need the support, so you're going to get C, and you're going to get 2 more electives after that. Or you could not qualify for A, but qualify for B and C. But no matter what, you're going to get that 1 elective of your choice. Okay. For Academic Lab C, we've also decided that students that are in special education math, which is our math A and B, and our special education English, which is English A and B, we've decided that they might also need support for social studies and science. And they're not going to get it in their classes, so they're going to get it in a separate Academic Lab C. So if your child is on an IEP and will be qualified for special education math, special education English, they're also going to be in an Academic Lab C for special education students, which means 4 of their classes or 50% of their day or their coursework is going to be special education classes. Now, I think one of the easier ways to understand this, other than working on master schedules like I do all day, every day, is to look at examples. So here's an example of a schedule that a student could have. They could have math, English, social studies, science, and PE. Those are our 5 content classes that everybody takes no matter what. So let's say this student chose band. That is going to be their 1 elective. And then they qualified for corrective reading or our literacy, which is Academic Lab A. But let's say I didn't qualify for Lab A. I'm going to go over here. Same 5 classes, I still wanted band, so I got band, but I showed I had a little bit of need in math, so I qualified for Lab B, and I had a little bit of need for support in all classes, so I get Lab C. I could also be in my 5 content classes and only need Academic Lab C to work on IEP goals or have check-ins with my case manager. So I'm going to get to pick 2. This kid picked band and they picked team sports. Those are extremely popular ones. These are schedule examples for some special education students. So if I am in special education math, special education English as a 7th grader would be A. That's a double block. Still going to go to social studies, science, PE. My one elective that I get to pick is art. I'm very passionate about art. Could be ceramics too. We do ceramics also. But I'm also going to be in an Academic Lab C with my case manager so that they could be helping me with all of these classes. Or I could be a student that is only in special education math, but I push out to be in the general education English class, social studies, science, PE. I still am an art person, so I'm still going to pick art, but I'm also going to try out band, and I'm going to be put in an Academic Lab C to get support in everything. Oh man, I bet there's some questions rolling in now. No, nothing?
Wait, let me refresh. Still no.
That's all right, because you can email him all over. You can email him and he'll probably forward it to me, so you can email me directly too, but we are happy to answer questions after this. All right. Okay, so the next steps. It's difficult because we are still in the process of figuring out where your child is going to be. We haven't started really picking out what classes students are going to take. We're waiting on some of those electives to come in, so make sure they fill out the elective. We're also in the process of doing corrective reading placement tests and the MDTP, because I believe some of the elementary schools are still working on it. Once we have all those results, or most of the results, we will start placing them into classes. Once we know what classes they need to be in, current case managers will work at the elementary schools, will work with our case managers at the high school, Mrs. Price, Mrs. Elmer. They will help us, and we will tell them what classes they will be in. So we'll give them a tentative schedule. It won't tell you that first period you have this, fourth period you have this, but it will give the 8 classes that you are slated to take. When we do that, the district has decided we're going to send out a K-12 form. And that was something I never knew about until this year, really. So it looks something like this. They will send every person the tentative schedule of the classes that have been chosen. I'm hoping that eventually, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to tell them if these 2 should say Academic Lab A, maybe they'll say Academic Lab C only, and then whatever else they chose off of their elective form. So please realize that you are going to get this from your current case manager. It's going to send a tentative schedule. Then down here, you're going to be able to say, yeah, I agree to that. So that sounds great. You can send me the IEP paperwork in an amendment at the beginning of next school year, and I will agree to that. You could agree to the classes, but you want to have the case manager contact you to have a more formal transition talk with us, and we're happy to do that. Or you can say, I won't really want to talk to somebody. I'm not sure I agree with that. You can check that one, and they'll send it, and we will set up times to chat. All right, so this is kind of what I just said. Please expect the new case managers to call to review the IEP closer to the beginning of school. That's why I kept saying tentative, because a lot of things change over the summer. And so we never want to put things in formal writing until we come back and we know exactly what our school year is going to look like. So we are hoping that the web orientation, and web is where everybody belongs. It's kind of like a welcome back, let's get this year going. We're going to do that for our incoming 7th graders the week of July 26th. So it's the week before school starts. School starts on August 4th. It's coming quick. So we don't know what the web orientation will look like this year. We used to do it on a Friday. We're probably going to split it up now into smaller groups so that we don't have 300 students all at once. But there will be a lot more information coming out about that closer in the middle of July. Mr. Barassi, do we have any questions?
We do.
All right.
Can you go over again for some of our kids and families where exactly to find the elective form and how to fill that out?
Yes, I will. I can resend it. If you email Mr. Barassi, I will send it. I'm not sure if it's posted on our website, but we will make sure that we post it on our website again. It's a whole document that has elective course descriptions. So if you heard me say team sports multiple times, you can go, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm going to read that and I'm going to go through, and maybe that's going to be my question. On page 2 of that packet of information, the catalog of course descriptions, there is a big thing that says link, and it's the link that you go and it will send you to a Google Doc where you can pick your top 6 choices at least up to 10. So
and they also sent that on their Google Classroom page, correct?
Yes, they can get it on their school-wide WCR incoming 7th grade or their current WCR 7th grade information pages. But I will make sure I post it again. Any other questions?
That is all I have.
That's it?
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, I guess that's kind of it too then. The last thing is that is my email address if you want to directly send me any questions. If you ask that question about the elective form, I'm happy to send it to you tonight if you send it to me. If you want to set up a transition talk and you just want to have more questions answered now, please just email me and I'm happy to set up a time to chat. And we appreciate you being here. And we will post this and all of the slides so that if you wanted to click everything, you could do that too. And I think the team's going to come back so they can all say hi. I really wanted them. Questions.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.